Wings and L.A. Law return next Thursday with all new episodes. Now stay tuned for David Letterman's 10th anniversary special.
Believe me, I'm just as sick as you are about preempting L.A. Law.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Connecticut's #1 Comic Con is back! Apple Hagon Meet actors from TV, movies, anime, comic book creators too! Shop for comics, toys, and more! Dress up as a hero, Terrific Con! August 8th through the 10th at Mohegan Sun! Tickets on sale now at terrificcon.com!
Kingdom Come is 4 separate issues, 48 pages apiece. It was an all-immersive kind of lifestyle for me.
It blew people away. I mean, this was the most sought-after book there was.
This was something very new, very different.
No one had seen anything like that at that scale before.
It was amazing.
I never thought from anything that people would still be talking about this book 25 years later.
If you're here at Word Balloon, it's because you like comics, creators, conversation, pop culture subjects. Would you consider joining the League of Word Balloon Listeners? Patreon.com/wordballoon. When you subscribe, you'll also be part of the Word Balloon Book Club, where Brian Michael Bendis and I will pick a comic every month to review and discuss live with the League on this show. Join the League today, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you always for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suttress here. Man, it's been forever, James Robinson, but great to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It has been a while, hasn't it? A year, 2 years, a while, yeah.
A little longer than that, but that's all right, man. You've been busy.
Oh, okay.
Geez, I'm so sorry, James. You were telling me off the air. People might notice. James looks like he went 15 rounds with Holyfield recently.
No, I had a really bad fall and I landed badly. It was just a bad thing. And as a result, I am looking the worse for wear, although I think I could have lost my teeth and I didn't. So take the positive route. And I'm glad you're laughing at my misery, John. It was fantastic. What are we? Like Howard Stern or something.
James,
anyway.
I feel terrible. But...
No.
Anyway, what?
Anyway, let's press on. Talk about stuff.
Indeed. No, you're a busy slate of books, and I've been thrilled at what I've been seeing from Dark Horse lately. James, I got to tell you, am I saying it right? Monstros?
Yeah, Los Monstros. Yeah, it's a Spanish spelling. It was Marcus Martin. I was going to be Los Monstros, and he's like, no, if it's going to be a Hispanic name, it should be spelled right. So we deferred to Marcos, and here we are.
Well, I love it.
You love it?
Say it again, James. I'm stepping on you. Say it again.
Do you like the book?
Very much. Very, very much. I hope it's a first arc of many arcs returning to this world.
Well, it is. Me and Jesus can do this book forever. I've already plotted out the second arc. I guess I plotted out the third arc too, and he's drawing the first issue of the second arc. Although I don't know if Dark Horse will be doing it, honestly, the second arc. I don't know how it's sold in today's incredibly volatile and unpredictable marketplace. But if not, we'll find somewhere else to publish it because we believe in it.
Understandable, man. No, I'm a big fan of when genres are spliced together. And this is, for people who don't know about the book, this is a noir that is set in on the West Coast, but this is a city populated by classic monsters. And
yes.
Yeah, and really, James, we'll talk about the other books as well, the more recent ones. But it almost feels like you've left the superhero world go by, but you're playing with other genres and again, kind of mixing them together.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's not that I've turned my back on superheroes. It's just that I'm at an age now where I've read I feel like I've read so many versions of Batman versus the Joker or Spider-Man versus Green Goblin, and I'm not knocking people that still like that and enjoy that stuff, but I just find it hard to get excited over it. I am doing something not particularly secret, but it is at DC, which we'll get an announcement at some point. The artist is a little bit slow, and I'm also hopefully doing another like Elseworldy thing for them, but we'll see if that happens.
Okay.
But anyway, at the moment I am enjoying doing these other books. I years ago I did a book called London's Dark, which was the first thing I ever did, and I got an introduction by David Lloyd. He was very nice. He said some very nice things, and then when they did a reissue of it, and for some reason they got a new introduction, and they got one by Warren Ellis, and all he had to say was, enjoy this book because this guy's gone to DC and Marvel, and you're not going to see this kind of stuff from him anymore. I was like, did really, Warren? Did you have to? Do you need to do that? Especially when he went off and did just the same thing.
Yes,
but anyway,
he did.
That's a long time ago. But this is me coming back to that kind of material that these ideas I've had. Some were my ideas. Some, if we're jumping around a little bit, the first of the Dark Horse books with Scott Collins, Patra, that was sort of his idea, and then I kind of took the germ or what it was. Well, that was cool. You got it up so quickly.
Trying, buddy.
Yeah. I took it and ran with it and gave it a structure that, God willing, we do more Patra, will be like 6 arcs or 6. It'll have 6 different. She'll take on 6 different monsters, and people that I don't want to ruin the ending, but there's kind of a surprise at the very, very end of the book in terms of Patra and her state of existence, and all of that will get explained as we go along, with more about her sister and how the dog's talking. So that is, that was one that Scott did, but more started with, and then Welcome to the Maynard with Jay Bone and Los Monstros were ones that I found the artist for, and the last one, which is announced but not out yet, The Adventures of Lumen N with Phil Hester. That was also my idea, but he's done him and Mark Deering, all of them, Bill Crabtree, they've done a beautiful job on that book. So I guess it's me shedding my DC Marvel cloak and running naked into the dawn of new original ideas.
Well, leave it to chance back in the day, as Joel Illidge acknowledged. Hold on one second. I got the comment here from Joseph, excuse me. Joe, I apologize, Joe. Great to see an interview with James. Big fan of Leave It to Chance and Starman, as we all were.
Thank you, Joe.
And Justin says, hey, James Robinson, loved your work on Superman with the new Krypton saga. Indeed. And your Dark Side work in Wonder Woman. Can you tell us more about, some of the history of those stories, please?
Well, Superman was going to be a tighter structure. It was going to have some of the same elements, but it was going to have a tighter structure, and it was going to involve Superman going to Krypton. I would write Mon-El in lieu of Superman on Earth.
Yes.
And Jeff was gonna. Well, Jeff did do Superboy, but he was going to make it more integrated into the idea, and it was going to be just the two of us. And I think it was going to be Mark Waid was going to do World of New Krypton, and then Dan DiDio just kind of like got it all, added stuff and mixed it up, and it became in my mind a little convoluted in that the things that I really wanted to do, a lot of them I wasn't allowed to. And the other thing that I was a little tiny bit screwed in terms of the amount of issues, because even I, towards the end of Monel's run, felt, man, this whole Superman stand-in thing has run its course. But we were so close to issue 700 that we thought, well, we might as well save the 700. It's weird for him to become Superman again in 695. So there were bits of it I'm very proud of. There were other bits of it that, like, Dan interfered with New Krypton, and that's how I didn't. Sorry, I forgot the name of the guy that just asked the question, but I
will tell you in a second. That was a lot of people jumping in. Justin.
So Justin, the thing about that was that, like, for instance, New Krypton, there was a reason why there were the silver aliens hanging up dead in the incubators, and it all tied in with the Captain Atom story that was the backup in Action Comics. And because of Dan messing around and getting involved, it never got really done satisfactorily. So there were bits of it that I'm proud of. I liked how I wrote. I loved writing Monel. I wish, and the Guardian, Jim Harper Guardian. It was a shame ultimately that, in a perfect world, if Superman had gone to Krypton and had stayed in the Superman comic, and I'd done like adventure comics or something like that, I think more people would have been happier with it, or more accepting of it. But I did get a lot of shit, excuse my French, online just because people wanted Superman. They didn't want Monel. But I enjoyed it. I liked doing it, and it had some good art. It's how I met Jesus Marino, by the way, of Los Monsters. So, and I worked with Bernard Chang, who I loved working with Bernard, and I ended up doing. I found it recently. I'm sorting through some of my books that I'd done. I did a Vandal Savage story, a 3-parter in DC Presents with him, and I read that again, and I was like, man, this is a good story. That's one of the joys of writing a lot, is you forget sometimes what you've written, and if it's half decent, you're kind of like, oh, I must have not been drinking that week, or that's a joke. But there's that. Then Wonder Woman, the Dark Side stuff. Well, when I did it, this was the Dark Side stuff. Partly came. It didn't come out of it. It came out. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, all good.
Wait a minute. Let me just put my thoughts in order here.
Sure.
So part of the Wonder Woman's material came from Jeff Johns giving Wonder Woman a brother, that we find out that the Queen had a second child, and at the same time, we worked they wanted Darkseid involved, and I don't remember why, but the one thing I wish I had done, I was like, Jeff, how do you see Jason, the son, the brother, and a brother of Wonder Woman? And he said, well, there isn't anybody that's just like normal in her world, like a normal nice guy. And in hindsight, I should have said to him, well, dude, Steve Trevor is really that guy, and I should have made him a little bit more like Loki, where you didn't quite. I mean, at the beginning he kind of betrays her, and then he redeems himself. And I should have had him sort of with that level of uncertainty. What was he going to do next throughout the book? I think that would have helped it more. But I enjoyed, I wrote the Big Six from what did they first appear in, the New Gods back in the day with Kirby, and some other stuff I enjoyed doing. And I worked with Jesus Marino again he actually designed Jason's costume, which I thought was undeservedly overlooked by most people. I thought it was a really great design job by Jesus.
That's cool.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working on it. I wish that, I worked with, as I say, Jesus, but lots of other people. I wish I had had one consistent artist. That always helps a book when you have one person, or, with maybe a fill in here and there, but one person. And it was like a musical chairs for so long that I think people were turned off. And also I think it would have. I think people wanted a woman writer on the book too, and which is perfectly valid and fair. I think had I had a female writer been on it at that point, even telling my story, I think it might have been again enjoyed more or embraced more by more readers.
Well, I liked your Monel story in particular, and I agree with Justin, who said Last Stand of New Krypton was one of his favorite stories of all time. And yeah, I thought, and again, especially Superman facing the realities of the Kryptonian society rather than kind of that postcard photograph kind of family album of, whatever sketchy information he had about Krypton and everything. And I thought that was a real, kind of crisis of conscience in terms of, is this what my people are? And I thought you guys tackled it quite well.
Nice. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Truly. Absolutely, man.
When we get a minute, by the way, John, apart from the DC books, I really want to promote my Kickstarter.
Amen, son. I have the photo of Rogue's Kingdom, although it's active, and actually we're down to the last week. But yeah, yes. Man, you keep rubbing up with all these great artists, man. You and Jeff Johnson. I'm a big fan of Jeff's as well.
Yeah, we work together really well. It's really he is not the he would admit this. He's just not the fastest artist. So working on an independent title for someone when it takes you 2.5, 3 months to do a book it's hard to keep the lights on. So something like Kickstarter is very important. And we have, again, I just did a big outline for Jeff, and it was already it's up to 6 or 7 arcs, because there's more than one kingdom. There's 3 kingdoms, and there's actually more stuff going on that you don't realize. All very varied and different. So, anybody that has not tried the Kickstarter book, the first issue, did you read it, John, honestly, or have you not had time?
I haven't had a chance to read it yet. No, James, I literally, when I was preparing and arranging for this and everything and talking to Dark Horse, it's oh, geez, James has a Kickstarter going. Tell people about Rogue's Kingdom.
What a perfect person for me to say then that one of the things about issue 2's Kickstarter is that you can jump on board as a late person and order issues 1 and 2 together. So I'm going to ask you what you think of it once I know that you have backed it and you have read it. I will ask your opinion. So there'll be no cheating. There'll be no cliff notes for you, John. I want to know it all. Okay.
I respect that. And give us the elevator pitch on Rogue's Kingdom for those just jumping in on it.
Well, Rogue's Kingdom takes place in a sort of Tolkien meets Game of Thrones meets Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser kind of world of castles and kingdoms and mythical creatures. And this area of the world, there are 3 kingdoms that years ago were in a horrible war between all 3 of them, and then ultimately the mages, the three kingdoms wizards, kind of stopped it all and brought about peace. But the wizards have the power to reignite this whole thing and destroy each other again. So it's sort of like a magical equivalent of the nuclear arms race, where countries have nuclear weapons, but they don't use them because other countries have nuclear weapons. So we're in that world, and it starts off with a caravan of beasts carrying vendors and travelers and all of that. And at the very, very back of it are 2 rogues, Rondo Manway and Peachy Least. Rondo is a dashing older swordsman, and Peachy Least is a cheeky and somewhat negative young pickpocket, Peachy Least. And they hate each other at first sight, and they're in this prison cut, squabbling. And then the caravan is attacked. And I won't reveal too much for people that, are jumping on, but it's attacked. They survive, obviously. They're our heroes. Although there's a really amazingly well drawn by Jeff Johnson fight scene, really fantastic. They survive, and they find that they have a means of going to one of these kingdoms, the place that they were on their way to, which is called Lumpland, and under aliases, under guise of other people from this caravan who've been killed, they will gain access to the palace and their plan, because they're just dumb rogues at this point, or especially Peachy, is we get in, we steal whatever we can, jewels, rings, silver cups, and we get out, and then we've made some money. And they go there, and you can already tell that Rondo, whilst having fallen into sort of being a bit of a rogue, has a heart, has a conscience. So they go in, and then things within the kingdom aren't right, and there's a bigger danger looming, and they slowly have to get in that access, which to the palace has made them responsible for things, and they have to kind of save that kingdom. But then it builds and builds, and there are 3 different places at the beginning. There's actually some other locations they have to go to, and it just gets into this bigger thing. It's done in a way. I wrote it, and Jeff has drawn it. One of the inspirations for it in terms of clothing and stuff a little bit later than Game of Thrones or the things I just mentioned. But there are 2 movies that when I was a kid I absolutely adored. I don't know if people even remember them now, but it was the 3 and 4 Musketeers with Michael York, Oliver Reed, Richard Chamberlain, and Frank Finlay. They were the actors that played them. But everyone was in that movie. It was an amazing cast. And we were talking about how that excitement and that kind of momentum was what we wanted to try to capture. And then I said, you know what, I also want to do, I kind of want to do Leave It to Chance with this, in that movie, those movies have violence and death and everything else, but it's nothing that you wouldn't allow an 8-year-old to read. But as a 28-year-old or a 58-year-old, you can still enjoy that movie for what it, for all the wonderful elements that it has. So this movie, much like Leave It to Chance, was always intended to be all ages in a good way, not just written for a younger audience. This is as well. When you see the action, there's a lot of action, but you don't see gore. You don't, there's swords, but you don't see anyone's entrails, hanging out of them or any of that. There's no nudity. I don't want to sound overly pious, because after all, I wrote Airboy, for God's sake, but it's a book for everybody, and cool. we're very proud of it. So I know people love your show. So for God's sake, if you guys want to take pity on me for my face, come on board. Let's get this thing to a nice little bit of money. It's important. The money's important because it allows us to maintain the quality, and it allows us to get the next issue out even quicker. So anybody out there that's intrigued, the art's amazing. Get on the page. There's a website. There's a link on that picture that John just put up at the bottom, inkstudios.live/rogues, and that will take you straight to our Kickstarter page. And there's all sorts of other things. Jeff Johnson does original art, as part of the extras and all of that stuff. And then also the other thing that we did. I'm just rambling, aren't I?
No, you're giving us details, James. We want to know what's going on, man.
The one thing that I did was one of the things I've been doing in the last year or so has been I've written my first prose novel.
Hey, so great!
I'm really into, yeah. I'll get to that in a minute, but
all right.
It does kind of tie in with Rose Kingdom. So so in the back of each issue, there is a text short story that takes deals with some aspect of the characters that you don't know in the comic.
Okay.
And I also did a fictional theater review of a tavern. So the book is filled with writing. It isn't just ads or the stuff that often when people do comics self-published and they kind of don't think they've got to fill the book. They just do 22 pages. So we have crammed this thing with material. There's all of Jeff's designs and art, extra art. It's really is great. And then I wrote this book. It's the first of a series. I came up with this, and ultimately I was talking to Jeff, and I decided, even though I'd written the book independently of Rogue's Kingdom, it's set in the world of Rogue's Kingdom, probably about 300 or 400 years earlier.
Oh wow!
And it's the first book is called The Singular Pair, and that's they are the heroes. And it's, if you imagined a world like King's Landing or the cities in Fafhrd the Grey Mouser or that sort of thing, there's a guild called Truthsmen, and you hire them when you want mystery solved. So basically, it's sort of a Sherlock Holmes like figure who works in that environment, that city where there's ogres and monsters, but there's also kings and different dragons are in it, and they have to solve this locked room mystery in a castle that will either destroy a city through civil war or save it. And super proud of it. And I'll be launching that as a Kickstarter, kind of, because I so enjoyed writing the characters that I then wrote 3 novellas which I'll publish together, and 1 shorter novel already, and I'm working on another very dragon intense next full novel with these characters at the moment. So in between, I'll be doing these Kickstarters of these paperback books, which if I get enough money on them, I'll do hardcovers or something, or make them really nice, So that's something else in the pipeline coming up.
James, your pitch is working. Isham just backed it. Says Starman is also one of my favorite series. Dennis says definitely backing. Just revisited World of Krypton, and wow, you and Rucka and Pete Woods did some great work. And I agree with him. He says Los Monstros has been great. And that's the thing, James, what you're describing with the novel, even though that's more Holmesian, that's what I love about Los Monstros is it's really a detective story in a monster world. I'm going to keep mentioning and let you know that more people are definitely backing. Wait, that's the same guy, Dennis.
I always tear up because thank you, Dennis and Hasham. Thank you so much. And
there you, Chem Dog says, of course, he will back it. And Joe Illage is saying, just back the campaign.
Man, this is great. This is great. Well, it isn't. There's often you go, I hope they like it, but I am 100% sure you will be happy that you've done this. I really do. And also, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Blue Sky, although I haven't really grabbed a huge hold of that yet. But if you guys like it, let us know. Communicate, because feedback means the world. It really does.
Are you under your own name, or are you under your imprint?
No. Yeah, James, I'm just, what am I? James D. Robinson or something? I don't know.
Okay.
And then what is Jeff Johnson? He's like I guess he's Scandinavian, so he has some something name, but we're easy to find. We aren't KGB spies hiding from the world. Don't worry about it.
No, I hear you, man.
Yeah. So what else? Yeah. So Los Monstros.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's so much fun to write because it is a detective story. I love detective stories, but it isn't just a private eye with a werewolf mask on. I mean, there's rules and things that he has to think about, and especially in the 4th issue, you'll see a lot more of that. As there's a big kind of ending, a little bit inspired by LA Confidential. I'm not going to lie, but I think it's different enough that it stands out. And then there's twists and turns there. But I've already written the second arc, or I haven't written the second arc. I've planned the second arc. I wrote the 1st issue. And as I said in interviews, Los Monstros is the name of the book, not the adventures of werewolf private detective Perry Cutter. So in the second one, Perry is kind of in it in places, but we're going to focus on Clyde, the man monster. And this is a man monster who took a shot to the head. And when you take a shot to the head when you're a man monster, it's the one thing you can't. If you chop off your hand, you can get a new hand, but you can't replace your brain. That's who you are. And you'll find that when him and Perry were cops together, he was the smarter one. And it's so frustrating. He remembers being smarter, which is, I'm sure, when someone has a stroke or something, it must just be hell on earth when you have that. When you remember when you were different and better. So, but because he's ultimately a good guy, he's got a job at a Hollywood studio, and he gets into a very Hollywood mystery kind of a thing there. And then the third one brings back Perry, but it also introduces a Coast Guard, actually two Coast Guards. One is a gill man, and the other, I can't wait for Jesus to draw it, is a pirate's ghost. So he kind of looks. He kind of looks like a pirate's ghost, but he's in a Coast Guard uniform. Like, he has to dress properly, but he still has the earrings and the shit, all that. So I mean, it'll be, that's another, and there's smuggling and there's all that stuff, but there's always monsters, and there's always the rules about monsters. There's a reason why Perry can change back and forth, and I'll get into that. I've thought of that too. And most werewolves have to wait for the full moon. So go on, man.
All I was going to say was that you've already introduced other Gillmen in that first arc.
Yes,
no, man, it has a great top 10 vibe to it. Alan Moore's America's Best.
It's funny because I wasn't thinking of Alan Moore or top 10 actually, but you're not wrong. In many ways, what influenced me more in terms of like taking a detective story and then doing the cross genre was Zootopia.
Sure, of course. Same thing.
Which is, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, it's a little more for kids, a little more, but that's a perfect example of what I mean with Jump into Rose Kingdom, where you can watch that as an adult and you get all of those adult references, but at the same time, it has that charm of a kids thing. With Lost Monsters, obviously, I've taken the kids thing out. It's a little more adult, although again, I've tried to do this with all the books, even Patra with the stabby slasher monsters. I kind of want to do books that a 50-year-old guy can read to his 11-year-old son, and he's not reading down, and the kids are not reading stuff he shouldn't really be reading. One of the things about Marvel and DC, and it's just my taste. I guess I'm just becoming an old fart, but there's so much bed hopping. Everybody's like having sex with everybody. It feels like that's, to some readers, that's more important than whether Magneto is going to take over the world, and I kind of miss. It's not innocence. It's just kind of, I don't know.
Good clean fun, James.
What's that?
Good clean fun. Good clean fun.
I mean, good clean fun, and there are places for dirty fun too. I'm not a prude, but I'm just I kind of miss those books that are for everybody.
Yeah. Well, James, again, Leave It to Chance. I mean, is a great example of that. And honestly, I kind of felt Welcome to the Maynard has that all ages vibe to it. And by the way, again, another great artist here working with Jay Bone, man. This is beautiful.
Yeah, he is. We're already the second. So what am I trying to say? So I plotted out like a 36-page-ish special, and again, I'm not sure if Darkus is going to do it, honestly, anymore. We'll have to find. We might have to find another publisher, but things like this, and I'm flying to San Francisco at the end of April. I was very surprised, but very, very grateful. Brian Hibbs does a graphic novel club, and you have a book plate, and it makes it special. Yeah. So the book for the end of August will be Welcome to the Maynard, and I'm hoping that exposure and this kind of thing will get readers tracking down the graphic novel, which has just come out, by the way. So if you haven't read it, it's obviously it's fun art. It's not Brian Hitch, who's brilliant, but it's not realistic. It's not Alan Davis. It's not Brian Hitch or Bill Sienkiewicz, but it's he worked with Darwin Cook for a long time. So and he also is in love with European bande dessinée, Spirou and Tintin and all of those kind of things.
Have that Tintin vibe, absolutely. Yeah.
Asterix.
Yes.
So it was him. It is him combining his own innate talent, but you definitely see the clean line of Darwin Cook meeting the clean line of European artists. And again, we have the next full arc of that will be it'll be her solving a lockroom. I love lockroom mysteries, I guess. A magical lockroom mystery that takes her to the Maynard in Osaka. It occurred to me, like the Hilton, they can have more than one hotel in the world. So
this, by the way, I want to again catch people up who may not know about Maynard, but it's a hotel, and it's a hotel that is populated by a lot of magic people, and you could see here in the cover the girl on the right is a new bellhop to the hotel, and she's discovering this environment and her own being and powers and stuff. Is that a fair?
Yes. I guess a little bit like Harry Potter, that the magicians are living right under the noses of normal people, and they don't realize it. So this hotel is in San Francisco, but you kind of step through a portal into this world where ghosts and magicians and genies and phoenixes and all this kind of thing. Sorry, my nose. It's hurting like crazy.
Sorry, buddy.
It's all right. So she arrives, and there is a mystery about her mother's death, which she kind of wants to know and kind of is scared to find out about. And she is actually the ward of the hotel's house detective, who is trading her secretly to take over from him as the main house detective when she's old enough and the most experienced. But she also has to pay her dues, so she's a bellhop. And there's other characters in it. I think Jay and I did a pretty good job of making all the characters have different levels of personality. And there's a mystery, and there's a burglar, a hotel burglar, and you think it's just a burglar, and then it becomes more. There's more at stake, but at the same time, it's fun all the time. Yeah. There's a love story with her and her girlfriend, who she can't say anything about the hotel, and that causes a rift, and you're not sure if they're going to stay together or not. But I think it's done in a kind of classy and kind of realistic way, nice way, you know. So there's all this other stuff, and then obviously the art by Jay is gorgeous, and please, if you're intrigued, check that out too.
So is that graphic novel out now?
Yeah. It came out. I think it came out last week. It might be 2 weeks ago, but it's very recent. I don't think it's a month. It's been out a month yet.
Okay, because Dark Horse truly was kind and really caught me up with Monstrose and Maynard and Patra. And nice. Patra, we really haven't talked much about that. We'll get to Lumen N as well. But Patra, you know, to give people the elevator pitch on Patra as well now.
Well, Patra is kind of my love letter in a way to the slasher movies of the 70s. And it's a girl who wakes up and she's in the middle of an empty big field by a river. And there's a slasher who he doesn't look particularly like Michael Myers from Halloween. Scott really kind of made him look different, but he's kind of our Michael Myers.
Okay.
And we think that she is the latest victim, and then we begin to find out that there's more to her than that she's the ghost of the latest victim. And you find out, actually, there's more to her than that. And she's met by her long dead sister, who kind of tells her what the situation is. But there is twists and turns along the way. There is a doctor sort of based on Donald Pleasance in the Halloween movies, but there's twists to him as well. And it's just a fun book. And again, it's there's a little bit more gore. There was like a severed head and stuff like that. But again, it wasn't like grotesquely awful, because we want, you know, those boys, 10-year-old boys that like to stay up late, and when their parents say go to sleep, they're watching old 70s horror movies. We want to appeal to them, you know. So again, I don't know how well it sold. I don't know if Dark Horse is going to do more, but if not, Scott and I are already talking about that. I have a fantastic idea for the next one. The slasher characters will be the family from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but done. It's kind of shown that at the end of the arc of the first arc, the graphic novel, and it's a really fun second story that I'll be doing with him. I have to start writing it actually the next week or so.
Okay, very cool. No, fun book again, and the final one, for new stuff. And don't worry, everybody, I will get to your greatest hits questions for James, because I have greatest hits questions as well, looking back. But Lumen N, you and Phil Hester, and I am fans of both of yours, and This is great. And this is more pulpy, and I'll let you describe your heroine and her tie to classic characters.
Well, it is. It's basically a young girl in India who has friends, and she has a pet tiger, and she lives in a beautiful kind of slightly decayed but gorgeous palatial mansion in a very nice part of India. In 1901. Sorry, I should say the time it was set. And her home is attacked by these steampunk assassins. Why? She has no idea. But suddenly, all the staff have been looking after her, know martial arts. And she's like, well, how did this happen? And she's also been trained in this stuff. And she's always wondered, why have I been trained in navigation? And why have I been trained in all these different languages and fighting, different kinds of martial arts? And obviously, they save her life in this attack. And then at the end of it, an older gentleman riding a steampunk elephant with Gatling guns attached to it, takes out the assassins and introduces himself to her. And it's her grandfather, who has been in a state of like self-imposed what's it called? Suspended animation. But he finds out she's in danger, and he comes to. Have you read it? You're nodding. Did they send you an advance copy?
No, I read about it, James, and that's why I'm intrigued. I haven't. I know it's not out yet.
I wasn't sure if you had. They sent you an advance copy for this interview. Anyway, she's
look through my stack while you're talking.
The old man introduces himself, and he's Captain Nemo, and she's the granddaughter of Captain Nemo, and it's me doing kind of trying to do Leave It to Chance a little bit, where you have this young girl who didn't know she was part of that world, learning how to become part of that world and becoming a heroine. And in the course of the storyline, they will meet all these other characters from Victorian and Edwardian fantastic fiction. I stress, because I did write League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, not the best film, that this is the reason why I did this is because one of the reasons is I kind of wanted to do I wanted to show people I could write a good Victorian story, and the only characters that won't appear actually will be anyone from the League. There are no vampires. There's not Dr. Jekyll, none of those. But you will meet the time traveler from the Time Machine, and you will meet Robor the Conqueror, and you will meet all these other characters that are in public domain and I can use.
That's great.
So and it's a fun book, and then Phil Hester's just such a fantastic artist. So he's done a beautiful job, and Mark has also, the inker, has just done a fantastic job of what I was likening the inking. These are old names that you might remember, John, but like George Klein, when he would ink like Kurt Swan, or he'd do John Buscema, or Gene Colan. He would bring out he'd capture what they did so well, but he'd just like tweak it to make it his own thing. Giordano was brilliant. Dick Giordano was brilliant at that when he was inking Dick Dillon and he was inking Neil Adams. So it's beautiful work, beautiful coloring. It's a really fun story, and again it goes on and on. I have so many. I don't want to. The first arc hasn't even come out yet, so I don't want to start going on telling you about arc 5 and arc 6. But I have so much planned.
Fantastic.
I hope this one's a hit because I really want to keep doing it.
Well, and James, honestly, I was going to obviously make allusions to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which screenwriter is the last guy to blame for a movie that doesn't come off, and I don't know if you want to go further into what you think happened with the movie.
Well, it's all of that stuff is so long ago. I will say that there was another script. I wrote another script which was entirely different. Have you ever read it? It floats around. Have you read it?
No, I haven't, James. I would love to, because I really appreciate the idea.
I'm actually finally going to get a website up and running. And when it's up and running, I will include things that no one has ever seen before.
Cool.
I actually found just recently in old files, the art and the plot before I had a word processor, I wrote this on a typewriter.
Wow.
When I had written London's Dark, I went to New York. I made friends with Mark Badger when he was visiting in London, and I came to New York and I stayed with him. And we went into DC, and Mark Waid had just become the editor of Secret Origin, and he gave me the Secret Origin of Dinosaur Island to do, and I wrote the entire script. I mean, it was a 10-page story.
Sure.
And Tim Burgard, who's a name a lot of people wouldn't even recognize, but he had a moment back in the. He's a really nice guy, but he was one of those guys that was more comfortable doing storyboards and conceptual art for films. I think he still does.
Okay.
So he did the art, at least the pencils, which I have copies of, and then just as it was about to be published, they cancelled Secret Origins. And then the art was stolen or lost when DC was moving from 666 Broad, wherever it was, to the address they had in New York before they moved to LA.
To Burbank, yeah.
So I found the artwork. I have that. Cool. So at some point I'll put that on the website and stuff like that no one's seen before.
Sounds great, man.
And the script will be there. I'll send you it, John. But for anyone else interested, I'll have it on my website when I get it launched. So But my point was that that script was so different, and then 9/11 happened, and so much of and they became so scared of terrorist attacks and stuff like that it all got rewritten. And the original script that Connery wanted to make and everything else was it was me writing it. I really had no one else working with it except me and the creative executive, and then Tom Rothman, the head of Fox, kind of, would give an odd note or two. But then when they said, well, we can't make this now. But Connery they had Connery. So a movie was going to get made. They weren't going to just walk away. So, but then the minute that, we're coming up with a new story idea, every Joker in 20th Century Fox came out of the woodwork with ideas. And the other problem is when you're writing a script, when there's suddenly there's five, you have one producer, and then suddenly you've got six. They all have notes, and they're all different. So you get pulled each way, and it's just the good thing about the movie was, for me, that I got to hang out with Sean Connery because he hated the director. So I would meet him and go over story notes in the morning, and that was quite a joy. And I met some of the people. I made friends with some of the people that were the cast. Tony Curran, who is a fantastic. He was unknown at the time, really, but you guys would remember him most because I'm sure everyone here watches Doctor Who. He was the guy who played Van Gogh. That was
great.
That amazing. I met people like that. There was good stuff, but I just wish the movie had been something that compared to. I really wanted to make it like Alan Moore's book, not as. There's a lot of rape and swearing and dark and imperialist racism and stuff like that. Obviously, I couldn't do any of that, nor did I want to. But I tried to kind of get that dark Gothic feel, and that got thrown out the window with the director. He just wanted it all to be his own vision. I don't think he even read the comic, honestly. I think he just read. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's that era of misfires and everything, and would have, could have, and should have instead of what we got. Although I agree with Isham, and you do have one good comic book movie to your credit, James, and that's Comic Book Villains, of course.
Well, thank you. That was made for $1 million. That is a low budget movie that I tried to turn into. What I wanted was the Coen brothers were an inspiration for that. That kind of dark humor, like Fargo, all those films they have. Yeah. And I really wanted to try and capture that. And then I was also obsessed at the time. I mean, I've always loved film noir, and it's technically film noir, though people aren't wearing suits. But the Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which is a movie directed by John Huston, starring his father Humphrey Bogart and Tim Holt. And it's these three guys that are friends and they like each other, and they get treasure, and it slowly. They don't all get crazy, but mainly Humphrey Bogart does. But it destroys the whole dynamic of their friendship and everything, and it leads to violence and all of that. So I wanted something like that with comics, And then I got a great cast. You know, Donald Logue, Natasha Lyonne, great cast. I was very lucky. But what I didn't realize when I first started, they were budgeting, and they said you have 30 days, which is about standard for a movie.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, 30 days, that's great. And then
30 days to shoot it, or 30 days to write the script, James?
What's that, man?
30 days to shoot it or write the script?
No. The script was done. The script.
Okay, so a 30-day shoot.
30-day shoot. So that's a nice amount of time. But then it got cut to 25, and I'm like, well, 25, I can do 25. You know, I've never directed a full-length movie, so I was very confident in my stupidity that I could do that. And they're like, you know what? It's 22 days. And I was like, well, I guess I can do 22 days. And then finally, it was 20 days. Now, 20 days when you're doing, you know, one of those Sundance movies about a family that meets for Thanksgiving in a snowy cabin, and the father has to tell them all he has cancer. You know those films that they do every year.
Oh yeah, Hallmark.
You can do that in 20 days. But when you have, you know, a burning building, cars flying off ramps into the river, all the stuff that I had in it, the nail gun gunfight, everything else. Every day it was like, well, we've got to do that, and then we've got 4 pages of dialogue to do as well. So one of the things that I realized in hindsight about Blood Simple, the first Coen Brothers movie, that was they had 40 days to do that. That's a lot of time to do that movie they did, which is even simpler than Comic Book Villains. But it allows you to work on the timing and the nuance of the dialogue, and you can rehearse it and just make it better before you even shoot. And I never had that. It was sort of done on the fly. Donald Logue was very complimentary of me. He was wonderful. But I've always loved that he had a high opinion of me. But I just wish that I had, you know, had more time to do a better job. And but sorry, Hassam? Was that who his name?
Yeah, Hisham or Isham. I always say Isham, but I think it's Hisham.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it.
Well, and again, James, I felt the same way, and I think that's why we were excited to see what you could do with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But again, as you say about the director and Connery and the clashes, and also the rewrites that you had to suffer through and everything, you know, here's a better. Go ahead.
What I wanted to say though was that I might not have had the courage to do it. To do Lumen, The Adventures of Lumen, had Alan Moore decided to keep going with the Victorian League. But I was kind of surprised. It felt to me like Alan Moore had this great idea, and then he was like, you know what, I'd rather do kind of stuff in the 60s and do other stuff. So he kind of wrote off that original team in the second storyline with the Martians, which surprised me. So that was why, you know, I felt, well, you could do this. It isn't like he turned Victorian heroes into this huge arena of stuff that he wrote. So that's Lumen, and that's out. When is that out? I think 2 months. I think something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. I believe the fall. Yeah, I think September.
So everybody, please, if you like the idea of this, it sounds cool. Check it out. It's beautiful artwork, a pretty good story, and go on.
When you're writing something like this, and the Nemo, story is part of your story, do you avoid that new AMC show Nautilus that's currently running?
Well, I'd already written the whole book by the time I saw Nautilus, so I'm kind of like, do I want to see it? Now, I kind of do, because Star Trek Discovery, which when it first started, I loved it. I think it lost its way a bit. But when it first started, the guy that's like actually a Klingon, and he ends up going into the spy world at the end of when he leaves the series. He's Nemo.
Yes. That's correct.
Great actor. Really liked him in Star
Big fan.
So I'm
big
tempted
fan.
by it. Do you like it? Do you like Nautilus?
I do, and he's doing great. And you know, I was not as big of a fan of Discovery as you were. I appreciated the idea that his character was this sleeper Klingon agent that they made look human and everything. I thought that was interesting, but He's a very good Nemo, and yeah, I am enjoying this, and really, I love steampunk in general, James. So,
well, I mean, this is him at the start, isn't it? It's him when he's young. It's like Nemo, and this is my Nemo is very much the grandfather figure, and Lumen is this young, precocious girl that kind of gets into, a bit like Chance, gets into trouble and saves the day. So it isn't like I'm doing the origin of Nemo and it's in competition. I feel pretty safe and happy with that. And I'll watch Nautilus. I just haven't had time really.
That's cool.
I've been catching up on Brassic, which is a much different show than Nemo. I can tell you.
I respect that. I wanted to, let's see here, because I wanted to ask, and Justin read my mind. We were eventually going to get to this. Justin wanted to know, can you tell us about your time on the Stargirl TV show with Jeff Johns? Loved the show, and he knows you wrote some great episodes, including the Ultra Humanite twist reveal and setting that up, which of course was a great callback to one of my favorite things you ever did, and that is, of course, the Golden Age and everything. Yeah, tell us about working with Jeff on Stargirl, James, because it is different than a movie when you're doing a TV series. But yeah, tell us about that experience.
Well, it was, again, fantastic experience. I went in as a writer producer, and Jeff made sure I got full producer title, because he felt like I'd helped to set up a lot of the stories that were going to be part of Stargirl in one way or another. So I came in, and the way that a show is done is you have a writer's room, you have a showrunner, that was Jeff, and then you have a writer's room, and you hammer out the whole thing. You start with the biggest tapestry, which is the entire 13 episodes, and then you kind of get where you're going, and that could take like weeks, and then you slowly refine it until you break it into your episodes, and then you refine those episodes, and and that's everybody throwing ideas in and everything else, and then finally there's a period of time when you have to divvy up the scripts, and everybody goes off and writes the scripts that the showrunner, that Jeff in this instance, thinks you would be best suited to write. So, like, what was one? We had Taylor, who was one of the writers, and she did a lot of stand-up comedy. And I forget what episode she wrote, but she wrote one that had a lot of humor in it, and it worked because that was how she thought. So I wrote the scripts that I wrote in the first one, and then I went to. So what normally happens, or what can happen, is the writer goes out to when his episode is being filmed, and he goes there, and he might have a note on nuance of the dialogue or something like that. It isn't like he can really boss the director around, but he kind of has to be there, to give his thoughts.
Okay.
I went. So mine was my first one was episode 4, and I went out earlier. I went out for episode 3, and the writer that was there for that didn't got sick, and then she got busy, and she couldn't be there. So suddenly I was meant to be there for issue 3, kind of observing and learning, and I ended up getting thrown really in the deep end because Jeff was busy flying to LA and all this stuff he was doing. So I was calling him up all the time and all of that. And then for one reason and another, that it was just things happened. I ended up staying on the production in Atlanta, staying there until halfway through the 13th episode. I was there the entire time, taking care of everything, and the co-executive producer with Jeff wasn't there as much as she should have been, could have been, or should have been. So I ended up filling in slack there. So when he went with so normally the way that producers, their titles go up, you start as a producer, then you're a supervising producer, and then you're a co-producer, a co-exec, sorry, you're co-exec, and then you're the executive producer. And normally that's supervising producer, but he went to Warner Brothers and he said, look, this guy did so much, I wanted him jumped too. So I became a co-executive producer with the second season, and I stayed that for the final 2. And I was just there all the time, and I learned a lot. I mean, things I really, Jeff would tell you, I'm really good in the room. I know how to talk to other writers. I know how to inject ideas without stomping other people's thoughts, all of that stuff. It's like a skill set that it's sort of creative diplomacy, and
Sure.
And I have a talent for it. So I'll be vain and say that. So it was 3 years, great cast. I loved all of them. They're all, wonderful people. I got to hang out with Luke Wilson, quite a bit. He was a nice guy. We went to see movies together and stuff. Jonathan Cake, who played the Shade, was fantastic.
Perfect casting, James. Yes.
Casting, yeah. I guess he's going to be in the 3rd season of that awful Sex and the City spin-off, which I mean, it's a gig, but I don't know, man.
I didn't realize that. No,
I prefer him as the Shade, not Carrie Bradshaw's fancy man or whatever he is. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that I was talking to Jeff a lot during the production of Stargirl, and all he had was great compliments about how it was great having you in the room. And it really, I mean, for all of us comic book fans, it just legitimized the show that much more. And I forget her name, the girl that was Stargirl.
Brett Bassinger.
Wonderful. Again, perfect casting, terrific actress, and everybody in it really. And Luke was such a great Stripesy.
Yeah,
and also the bent of him being, this almost like guy that wanted to be part of the Justice Society and everything, and couldn't, but then fulfilled his hero dreams with Stargirl instead. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it was Jeff's. It was sort of the character was based or inspired by his Stargirl was by his sister who died in a plane crash.
Yeah,
and it really did her justice. I mean, he had an idea for a 4th season, a mini one that would have been brilliant, but Warner Brothers were already on this trajectory to where they are now, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. That's a shame because again, it was terrific. Is it streaming, James? I know a lot of the CW stuff is streaming currently on Netflix. I don't know if it's currently streaming anywhere or not.
I'm going to be ashamed to say I'm not sure.
Okay.
I knew where it was streamed. I'll look it up when we get off. I haven't thought about it for a while. It was on HBO for ages, and then it went away. I'll find out because there is a residual check you get once in a while, so it's always still screening.
Art Baltazar from his comic book store says hello.
Oh, hello. How are you, man? It's good to hear your brief message. See, read it. Yeah.
Justin agrees. A lot of great casting on Stargirl. I was worried. I remember originally that Luke might leave when the show went to the CW due to budgets. Is that true?
Is it? I mean, I'm not being coy. I'm trying to remember. Is it true? There was, when it went to CW. I mean, this is where Jeff. I will say this. I don't know that any other showrunner could have gotten that show made to the quality it was because they cut the budget drastically.
Wow, really?
And yet he managed to keep the wheels rolling. And you don't really know that it's made for less money.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's amazing. By the way, people are chiming in. And Mario and Justin let us know that it is still on HBO Max or back on HBO Max. So that's cool.
Yeah. So Jeff really kept it going, and then we found was it Zoic? They were an effects house, really good effects house. I mean, we had it's funny. It's something. It feels like magic when you're making a science fiction movie because when you see it being shot. Like Stripesy is just like a placard, like on a marching band, those guys in the front with that banner that they hold up and walk with that. That's what Stripesy was, and you're like, and Solomon Grundy was just this like weird thing to stand in for him, and then the effects house gets it, and they do versions, and you're like, oh, this is kind of lame. And you realize it's just the skeleton part. It at the start when you see the effects, they look like bad Doctor Who effects from the 60s, and then slowly they become like the new Doctor Who effects, or the
Sure.
which are still not quite as good as the American shows stuff, but they're better. And then they become better, and then they become better. It's really interesting how the special effects aspect, the computer stuff, and when you have a wall that suddenly is taken away and there's a vista instead, and things like that. It fascinates me, and we had a really good bunch, the Zoic crowd. They were great.
Stephen wants to know if was there any discussion to use Jack Knight instead of Sylvester Pemberton?
No, there wasn't, because I think what we were. Oh yeah, that's right. We were planning, because we mentioned Ted Knight. We acknowledged that the Rod came from Ted Knight, and we were saying that, like, if this kept going, we could reveal that Jack Knight. We could do a whole spin-off Jack Knight, and he's been in Opal City this whole time doing his thing.
Fantastic.
But again, Warner Brothers.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And I'm telling you, James, it was such a great show. And I told Jeff back in the day also, because these shows, they rely on music so much. And the music supervisor was so great. And really, I was Shazamming every episode and finding new songs that I really loved. And also the Injustice Society was so well done and really calculating. And as opposed to just being broad villains, this great secret society that was kind of maneuvering around. So, and I forget the name of the mastermind, not Icicle, but the other one that really looked like a 30s cliffhanger kind of villain. That, forgive me, that's an American idiom.
Brainwave? The Brainwave?
It was somebody that was hooded all the time.
Oh, the Dragon King.
Yeah, the Dragon King. Exactly, man.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
You saw him very briefly. He was, I've forgotten his name. That's terrible. He was a very good actor. He was Asian. He'd worked with Jeff on, I think, Blade. They did a Blade TV show. I think he was on that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And he was very, very nice guy. And he did actually get to show his face in some flashbacks. But yeah, he was great. Also, he ended up directing episodes. The stunt coordinator, fantastic,
cool.
Jeff was Jeff. I think partly was skilled, and partly a little bit lucky, because you can only get the people who are available when they're available. But he was skilled enough to know who he wanted, and he assembled a fantastic team on screen and behind the camera. He really did a wonderful job. I mean, I think it practically killed him, though. I mean, he got pretty stressed from time to time. One of my jobs as the main writer, who isn't the executive producer, is called the number two. So I was his number two in the second and third season. And what part of my jobs often was just calming him down and just making sure he was all right. I mean, when you have that much weight on your shoulders, it's enough to break somebody.
To me, it's the best thing that he was involved with, as far as his stuff. And no disrespect to the Snyderverse and the other things when he was running the studio, but STARGIRL, it really, as Stephen, I agree with Stephen too. All the flashbacks were amazing. Total. I mean, yeah. Anytime we saw, the kids, and really, this is not a pejorative. The kids were great, but all us old fans, man, we wanted to see the JSA in action, and it was always so great to see all that. And it's funny. I'm going to be at this convention, Terrificon. You saw the commercial at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Henry Thomas is going to be there, and I know he was the AI in Dr. Midnight's glasses.
Yeah, he was going to be Dr. Midnight, and then I don't know what that might have been budget. That might have been.
I kind of figured it was.
I'm not sure the reason we had to recast him, but so that when you saw Dr. Midnight, it was this other actor, and he was local to Atlanta, which can help when you have two really good actors and one of them is local. It can tip the scales,
I'm happy.
But yeah, he was good in the as the AI in the first one, absolutely.
That's cool, man. No, and really, no, they again, wonderful casting on the Shade. And yeah, I'm sorry you didn't get a 4th season. Justin wanted to know, was there any discussions for more Green Lantern stuff with Alan Scott?
Not really. I mean, one of the things we were hoping to do a spin-off series. I mean, it's right there that the Shade was gonna be this, like, have to take on responsibility and take on the Infinity Incorporated. That was, with Jade and and all of that, Obsidian. And that didn't happen as well. I mean, there's a lot. When I think about it now, it's kind of tragic. There was a lot that we didn't end up doing that would have been brilliant. So yeah, that was the plan. Jeff was even saying that I knew enough now. I might have actually been running that one when he was continuing with STARGIRL. So, whatever, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but would have been a great spin-off. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, and Nucleon. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we were going to bring in Sandy. That if we'd had the rest, a spin-off series, you would have seen Sandy Hawkins too.
Well, and yeah, Justin says, and he's right. It just sucks that this was literally the timing, the CW collapse, the Arrowverse ending. I find myself rewatching stuff, and it is great to hear that I can enjoy rewatching Stargirl on HBO Max. That's wonderful, man, because I've been watching the other ones on Netflix. So there you go. Hey, you'll forgive me, James. One of your last Marvel things that I really enjoyed was Nick Fury.
Yeah, I love that series. That was always kind of meant to be 6 issues, so I'm glad it ended when it did. I worked with Aiko. So,
yeah, he was great. His art was amazing.
Yeah, and it was obviously deliberately a love letter to Steranko.
Sure.
And I think that really comes across. I'm a huge lover. I mean, I do it in Los Monsters too, with the titles that are incorporated into the artwork, which is very much a Steranko thing from Captain America. And these are old comics, but back in the day he did X-Men and he did Captain America, a few issues of each, and he always did that. So it's kind of a homage to him. I enjoyed that. So a lot of the Marvel stuff I quite liked. I actually think I will say this proudly, I think my run of Fantastic Four is better than people acknowledge. It kind of got Tom Brevoort. It was his first. It was the first Fantastic Four he edited. He'd been the editor of that book for like 15 years or some long time. So it was kind of swept aside, and I felt that was unfair because Leonard Kirk, who I worked with, he was the main artist throughout, as well as Mark Lamming, who was kind of the fill-in guy.
Love Mark.
They did wonderful work, and I thought the story was cool, and I tied it all together, and I literally tried to put every Fantastic Four iconic figure in the book, in the, what was it, 18 issues, whatever it was, in an annual. I actually was in the Netherlands at a convention a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, and I met Tom Grummett, who I had never met, and he did the annual, and we had a lovely conversation about it. Yeah,
that's cool. Have you had a chance to see the new movie yet?
No, I haven't. I saw Superman.
Tell me about Superman. What'd you think?
I wasn't in love with it the first time I saw it. And then I thought, am I doing it a disservice? And I went, and I'm a huge 3D fan. If you remember, back when I was doing Starman, I would write about Viewmasters. And I kind of got rid of all that for a while. And then I got back into it. And now I have a gigantic Viewmaster collection. And I love 3D. I have 3D cameras, all of that. So I went to see it again because it's in 3D. And I enjoyed it more. I think what the first time I saw it, I thought, who is this for? Because, comic book readership is relatively small.
True.
And there were things brought into that series with no introduction that if you're a fan, you go, oh, I know what that is or that is. But I was like, what, boy, he's really like throwing the viewers into the deep end. And I think I was overthinking it because when I saw it the second time, I enjoyed it much more. I really liked it. But I mean, weird things like, when Metamorpho's sitting on the sofa with his baby and the blonde wife from Simon Stagg's daughter, I forget her name.
Yeah, Sapphire.
It's like, okay, well, people are going to say, who's that? What's that all about? And the fact that Metamorpho's is in it without any introduction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, you're right, because shame on me. I do have the knowledge of being a lifelong comic book fan, but I mean, I thought they gave us enough to convey that this was his wife. But then again, they're both, you know, he looks weird. The baby looks weird. So I don't know. But I loved that.
Maybe people don't care. They just want a good story, you know? I mean, it's heroic, and it's, you know, I mean, I agree with Mark Waid back, you know, the Snyder Superman when he kills Zod. Like, Superman doesn't kill. Superman saves a squirrel. I mean, it's a very different Superman, and I like that. But I was like, you know, there are aspects to it that I was like, boy, I like they don't explain Jimmy Olsen at all. You just, oh, that's Jimmy Olsen, and girls think he's, you know, he's this Romeo that everybody's in love with. How did he meet Luther's girlfriend? We don't know. He just did, you know. And like the only bit that I was a little tiny bit like, I guess not. It's not really a Deus Ex Machina, because that solves the problem at the end. It was kind of like almost the reverse. But when Ultraman is a clone of Superman, I was like, shouldn't that have been like set up a bit more? It just felt a little bit coming out of the blue. But the second time I saw it, I didn't care. I guess I fell in line with you. I just was enjoying the whole experience. I also saw it in 3D, and I didn't even know what I was. I thought I was going to just get my 3D glasses and I would sit there happy. But you can pay a little bit extra, and you get these seats that are like a roller coaster.
4DX, I believe it's called. Yes.
I had one of those, me and my wife, and you know, you're moving and all this, fantastic. So you know, it was good. I was invited to the premiere in LA, which I did. I live in Vegas, so I didn't go. We went locally, but I created with David Goyer, Kendra, with that Hawk Girl is someone I came up with. So you know, and I get thanked at the end of the movie. So that
I saw
nice.
it. Yeah,
that was nice. And what's his name? The rookie, Guy Gardner. That's great. I'm going to fan out here because I'm very excited about I've always loved Carl Chandler. Always loved Carl Chandler. He used to do a TV series called Homefront when he was young. That's when I first met Carl Chandler. And I'm worried that they're going to have him in this series and he's going to die heroically at the end, allowing there just to be Jon Stewart. That will break my heart.
Yeah, I certainly hope not. Because, I think it's perfect casting for Hal Jordan. Chandler. Yeah. And Lanterns is obviously if people are slow to what we're talking about, the Tom King show that he is involved with that's coming to HBO next year. So I'm excited for that. Justin, by the way, gives you props for your run on Fantastic Four. A lot of great moments. Invisible Woman especially stood out very well. You had a tough spot as time runs out, was building as time was out, and also building towards Secret Wars. So at the ending, I guess, is Forever Rock.
Well, thank you, Justin. I actually, it kind of tells me why that Tom Brevoort was kind of not keen to, because I really wanted to help them set up Secret War. And there is even a moment where, and they didn't ask me to do it, I did it to try and make it more cohesively a part of everything, where Doom is holding he's looking at this sort of holograph of these different worlds, and he's clearly thinking about what he's planning with Secret War. I mean, I'm very proud of it. I actually like the Secret War books I did too, the Armor Wars and the Age of Ultron versus Zombies. I had fun with those.
James, I'm going to go back. I've got Marvel Unlimited, so I'm going to go back and read these things. That's fantastic, man. But I'll also read the
news. One of the things I was unhappy to kill, because you have to bring in all these like other versions of the characters. I basically created like if the Punisher was Solomon Kane, and he's only in it for like 3 pages, and then he gets killed by zombies. But man, I enjoyed writing that character.
That's hilarious. See, that's great, James. And again, that's why I'm glad you're kind of, even though Solomon Kane is, Robert Howard and stuff. It's all pulp, and that's why I'm glad that you've got so much pulp influence in the new stuff that you're doing.
I just sent in a script to those guys, the Robert E. Howard guys, for a Savage Sword of Conan story for the next year's stories. It's
that's great, man.
Yeah, it's James Allison and John Kirawan. So it's sort of a mystic. This guy James Allison is a character that Howard wrote who can remember his past incarnations, and they're always some sort of variation of barbarian. And then Kirawan was kind of it was the character that got into the sort of arcane mysteries, so that Howard, when he wasn't writing Barbarians, could write stories that worked in the world with the Cthulhu world, because he was buddies with in real life. Howard was buddies with H.P. Lovecraft. So it's those two characters, and it's just a 12-page story. I'm not sure who the artist is yet, but I had fun writing it.
Okay. I can't find the comment, but I do remember that Mario, and I was going to ask you as well, because we did hear word that you and Tony Harris were coming back and might be doing a Black Label Starman story. Is that still in the works?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It actually, when I said I'm doing something at DC, but the artist is slow, that's who I was referring to.
I kind of figured. But
the reason I don't have that much problem revealing this probably earlier than DC would like is that Tony is the biggest blabbermouth in the world, and he goes to every convention, and he's always telling people. So, and the arts, he shows art. I mean, it's fine. I don't care. I mean, it'll take a while for it to be done. But we're doing a 4-part Black Label comic that I don't want to bring back Jack Knight. I think his send-off was perfect and all of that. But
sure.
But if people that remember the series, when everyone comes out of the poster after the poster demon is defeated, all from different periods of time, they're all the same age as when they went in. And Jack meets this old Japanese man who wants to go back to Japan and die peacefully, and be reacquainted with his family and die peacefully. And Jack elects to go with him to Japan, and obviously there's horror and danger waiting for this old man, and Jack gets involved. So that it takes place between issues 28 and 29, something like that. So it's a flashback story. It takes place a few years ago in DC continuity, but it allows me to have young Jack. And it's just, I have to remember the things that come afterwards. I had to kind of go in and research my own work or remember my own work to make sure I didn't reference things that hadn't happened yet.
Understood. That's cool. That sounds great, man. No, I agree with you. I think you gave Jack a wonderful, finale, and especially given the arc of the entire series and everything, where Jack started and where he is at the end and everything. He's much more mature and ready to be a dad, Yeah,
absolutely.
So no, but it's great to hear, honestly. And listen, man, Tony's a buddy of mine as well. And I mean, it's in the ether. I'm sorry, DC. We don't mean to screw up anybody's,
I would have quite happily have kept quiet until it came out, but Tony, blame him. He is a blabbermouth.
Justin says, if you got the chance to choose between Kyle Chandler just doing one season as Hal Jordan or bringing him back for something afterwards like Parallax, which would you prefer?
Well, that's kind of I don't know. I mean, I don't. I mean, Parallax. I think Jordan. Sorry, that was Jordan asked that. Yeah,
Justin.
Sorry, Justin. You've kind of asked me if I could eat, the most delicious pizza for once, or eat dog shit for the rest of my life. Which would I choose? I don't know what to say to that. Parallax. I don't know. It was of its time. I mean, people would just fuck these characters.
James, I literally was thinking the same thing. Parallax was fine for its moment.
Yeah.
I would rather we leave it in the past. There's no, and even I don't even want an adaptation of that in Lanterns in any way.
The thing about like one season as Hal Jordan and then Parallax, it's like one of the problems I think sometimes with these TV shows and movies is they try and cram too much in, and then you lose the evolution. So, it could be if you had like 5 seasons of Green Lantern with Kyle Rayner, and then you had Parallax, it might be a cool. And then there's one season with a villain, and then he either leaves the show, redeems himself, leaves the show, or he comes back. I always felt kind of heartbroken by the Green Lantern movie, because I thought as an actor playing Hal Jordan, I thought Ryan Reynolds was very perfectly cast. I think the problem with it was, had they done like Hal Jordan gets the ring, and the blackness comes and infects one villain, maybe the Black Hand. You get an actor to play the Black Hand, and it becomes like light against darkness on Earth. And then at the end of the he's done it all, and he goes back to the grave of Abin Sur, and he says, okay, I've beaten the bad guy. What do I do now? I feel all alone. And then there's a green light shines above, and then you cut to credits. Oh. That's a good first movie. But in the Green Lantern movie, no sooner has he become Green Lantern than he's been sucked into space. We've shown all these characters. We don't get to know who he is or his backstory. We don't really care about Carol Dan. What's her name?
Carol Ferris.
Carol Ferris. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just something that happens with movies. They don't really read comics. They just kind of like flick through them, and they get an idea, and then they say, let's do this, and obviously Jeff's Blackest Night was the hottest thing, but that took 40 years to get to that, from when, or maybe more, I'd have to look at the dates, but from when Hal Jordan first appeared.
Sure.
So these
almost 60 years
need to be coaxed and worked with, so there,
No, I'm with you, man.
Anyway, I'm excited about Hal Jordan. I hope he stays around. I do think the other actor, the black guy, is perfect. He looks like a superhero.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very hopeful.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to a buddy cop kind of dynamic, and I'm hoping it's the first of many seasons. I'm with you, man. Ange wants to know, he loved your JLA run with the sort of analogs of the Big Seven: Supergirl, Jesse Quick, Jade, Donna Troy, of course, Monel and Nightwing as well, right? Did you pitch that lineup to DC? And also, he wants to know, did you enjoy writing Supergirl?
No, I didn't pitch that lineup. What happened was, I came up with a bunch of. I have again. I'll put that on the website. I came up with a whole 6-issue arc called Team History, and then in the middle of just as I was setting it all up, Dan DiDio started grabbing characters. So you can't. I need that character. I need that character. And fucking me over basically. So so I had to think quickly, and I actually went out to have a drink with Jeff, and I said, what about this? I remember years ago. I think years ago, I was talking to Jerry Jones when he was writing Justice League, and I had this idea back then, because he was doing blue and the gold, but it was kind of over when people were kind of over blue and the gold, and it was kind of languishing, the book he was doing. And I was like, why don't you do Nightwing and Supergirl and just make it like a new group, and of these characters, Donna Troy and he said, no, I don't want to do that, blah blah blah. So I was like, well, that's a good idea. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. So I kind of pitched it to Jeff, and the only thing was, he didn't want me using Wally West, which kind of was tough, because he wanted to keep Flash buttoned down at the time. So I chose Jesse Quick, because I loved Johnny Quick, the Golden Age stories with art by Mort Meskin. I love Mort Meskin. For guys that don't know, the Golden Age artist, he's brilliant. What's interesting, though, the one thing I learned from this was, it was after Blackest Night, and Donna Troy had to deal with her baby being resurrected and this heavy shit. So I was trying to have her go through an arc where she's angry and swearing and stuff like that. And people will beg to differ with me, but I didn't really feel she had that much of a character, that I felt I was giving her a character. But what I've learned is, when you have characters in comics that are kind of popular, even though they don't have this defining character, people put their own spin. They add a character from reading it that they have. So if you suddenly take a character like that and give them this radical change, you just think you're adding something, but they're like, no, you are breaking something. And it's a little lesson I learned, that if I ever did a team book or did X-Men or something, I would be very careful of that in the future.
Did you feel that happened with you with Roy Harper, as I remember? and this is all from memory, you'll forgive me, but I seem to remember pushback from readers about Roy. And again, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
There's huge push. Well,
or just I mean, again, social media. James,
in what way, Roy? Because I did Cry for Justice, which is probably my low point.
Well, and it's people have quite comment about Cry for Justice, but feel free, keep going.
So,
not a bad thing. No. James, truly, Stephen says
the problem with all of that stuff, because it was all being Ray Palmer, and it seems
if I may, for the audio audience, because it's both video and audio, Stephen says the Atom was supposed to be in that JLA lineup. Ray Palmer is my favorite character. It seemed like you had plans for him in Cry for Justice, continued, and also in the world of Krypton as General Lane. Hold on a second. There's a part 2 to this comment. General Lane stole the time pool.
Yeah, so, I don't know so much about Ray Palmer in Krypton. That might have ended up. That would have been nice. I loved the Atom, the Ray Palmer Atom, but what happened was I had all these characters in Justice League, and then we had the idea of doing this group that were the Seven. They had Stargirl for Martian Manhunter and Jesse Quick for the Flash, and the Atom didn't fit. But in the original 6-part storyline that I never got to do, he was a big part of it, so that was a case of like, well, he doesn't really fit, so let's make it clean and simple. But I've always loved him. I hated what they did with what was that? Well, they killed off Sue Dibney. I know everyone loves that book, Identity Crisis, but I've just found it a bit too mean-spirited.
Oh, I agree. No, I mean, I love the story, but by the same token, that was just heartbreaking, and also making. And is it Jean Loring was Ray's girlfriend?
It was a murder, yeah.
And it was kind of interesting making her crazy, but
well, she'd already kind of gone against the grain of these superheroes because Sword of the Atom comes out of Jean Loring cheating on him, so she was never. Yours felt like he stepped right out of Power of the Atom. Well, that's very nice.
You're right. Yeah.
She's already kind of broken the mold. She wasn't Iris West. She wasn't
right.
So
loyal.
That didn't bother me. I just found, Sue. I guess I'm just a fan of Ray Ralph Dibney and Sue Dibney. I love. So having her like raped and set fire to and all of that I was like, dude, what the hell? What kind of comic is this? And I think Tony Isabella agreed, and people nowadays I guess they like all that stuff, the violence.
Well, actually, it was Brad. It was Meltzer that wrote Identity.
I know who the guilty party was. Believe me, but I guess I'm just getting old. I like.
The next time I talk to Brad, I'm gonna and without any blame, but that is something interesting to ask him in terms of really everything. Because hey, Brad got a lot of pushback from Identity Crisis, a lot of pushback.
I don't think he cares though.
Oh, I'm sure he doesn't care, but I would just be curious in terms of what was in his mind when he was doing it and everything. Here, for example, a couple comments on this. Steven says nobody ever explained what happened to Paul, the guy Gene cheated with. So that's interesting. And Justin said the Arrow series copied what you did with Roy's arm at the end of the show, he believes.
Well, I tell you one thing about that. So we were planning that, and like it was to shake everything up. So at the time no, that's not true. They weren't planning. They were beginning to potentially plan a movie, a Supermax movie where Green Arrow goes to prison.
Yes,
David Goyer was fucking around with it.
Remember this post movie? Yes, indeed.
So that was where the idea of Green Arrow becoming a killer. Now, the reason that I took his arm was two reasons. One was this is one thing that Brad did actually. He there was this conversation about Arsenal. You know, one day he's going to be better than Green Arrow. You know, he's just coming better. And I was like, fuck that. You know, Green Arrow is the best archer. No one becomes a better archer than Green Arrow.
Fantastic.
And, Roy can have every other weapon. And so I thought having this prosthetic that wasn't like an artificial arm that was always his, he had to take it off.
Right.
That came from me actually going to a comic convention and stopping at, I forget what airport, an airport in Texas that is the big hub for the big military barracks in Texas.
Okay.
And the amount, when you're walking around the airport, the amount of servicemen with prosthetic arms and legs.
Really?
Yeah, there's just a lot. And I was like, you know, these people are carrying on with their lives, and they're you know, leading these you know, honorable, good lives. So I thought, why can't there be a hero that is like that?
Interesting.
And, you know, and that got taken. Like he got his art. You know, they undid that at some point.
Yeah, of course.
But that was meant to be a positive. And then JT Kroll took over what was that book he did? And then there was a dead cat or something in the alley. I don't know what that was. Well, that was him after. Unfortunately, I think killing off the daughter was a big mistake, and I wish I hadn't done that now.
Well, apparently, Justin says that Josh Williamson brought Liam back in his Green Arrow.
Good for Joshua Williamson. There are times when you regret stuff, and I really regret that. That is actually why at the very end of the very last issue of Justice League, I made Jesse Quick pregnant, because I was approached by a father at a convention, and he said how much it hurt him that there was a dead child in the DC Comics. So I said, I promise you, I will bring another child into DC Comics.
That's cool.
That was me doing that, but I'm glad that Liam is back, and it suits him. It was a terrible idea, and I'm anybody that thinks it was a terrible idea, I apologize. I really do.
But James, you know, and again, this is the great thing about comics, that they correct a story that, you know, that went a different way, that maybe didn't resonate. And I mean, God, you know, look what Jeff did when he brought everybody back with Rebirth and everything, and brought back kind of the old continuity. You know, I mean, I appreciated what the idea of the New 52 was, but a lot of the execution, you know, whatever, you know, it is what it is.
Well, I actually thought with New 52, the two things so with New 52, the two things I think they fucked up were Batman, and I'll explain in a minute, and Green Lantern. Now Green Lantern, Jeff stayed on that book, and it was just this extra Green Lantern story that didn't count,
right?
And it didn't relaunch it or anything.
Yes.
And I thought they should have relaunched Hal, but the one that really bothered me was Batman, and it isn't. You know, Scott Snyder's a great writer. Brotherhood of the Owl was that what it was called? Brotherhood of the Owl?
Court of Owls.
Court of Owls. That was great too. But it was like, in 5 years, you've had 4 Robins. You have this, and you're Batman, and yet, you know, this wise Batman that has never known about the Court of Owls. That's stupid. But if they had truly relaunched Batman, same story. But there's one Robin. You don't have all these other ones, and it's a new Robin, or it's Dick Grayson, or it's a I don't know, something else, and just made Batman and Green Lantern feel more like they were restarting, and they weren't sort of embarrassed by the restart and were continuing like it never happened, which is what it felt like. Yeah, you know.
No, finish your thought, please.
Because this is me. We're not really talking about me now. We're just talking about crap. So I don't know. I've finished.
Okay. Well, back to you. Lewis liked Earth 2. And Jerry also loved Earth 2, was wondering why James left so early in the run.
Well, the reason I left was because I was trying to set up this other world and deal with like young version. Like it was different. They were young Justice Society. Actually, they were young heroes on Earth too.
That happened to have the names of the Justice Society, yes.
But everything that they got was all magical. Like, if you notice, there was never going to be a scientific origin. It was all, you know, everything else. And then they were called Wonders because Wonder Woman was the first hero in that world. All that stuff. It was to make it interesting and new.
Sure.
And and sales at the start were like 100,000, and they went down to about 60,000, which is still a healthy thing. And at the same time, what was it called? I guess it was called Age of Apocalypse. Brian Hitch and Bendis did a book called Age of Apocalypse.
Yes, yes.
And I got this thing. We want you to destroy the world. And I said, why do you want me to destroy the world? Because it's not selling 100,000 copies anymore. And this is Dan DiDio and Bob Harris. They're fucking idiots. And I just and I was like, you know, that the way that Age of Apocalypse is done. Oh, Age of Ultron. It was Age of Ultron, wasn't it? Age of Apocalypse.
Age of Ultron. You're right. It was Age of Ultron. Excuse me.
They're going to rebuild everything. It's like a fake thing, but we're already in a fake world. So we're not going to rebuild everything. We're just going to have a fucked up Earth too. And it was just communications. They were messing around with the editor. They're just making it. It wasn't fun to write. It wasn't fun to be at DC. I didn't really, it was time for me to get out and go. And I went straight to Marvel and got Invaders and Fantastic Four. So it led to what I consider to be a pretty fruitful time. I did Scarlet Witch too at that time, which I'm proud of. So it was just I couldn't handle that crap anymore at DC. It's a much better place to work now. Again,
James, I have to apologize to you because, and I'm assuming you don't remember because this is years ago. But I remember really questioning you turning the Earth 2 Alan Scott into a gay character. And it's because I had this long affinity for Alan Scott, period, the Golden Age version. I am pleased that James, I don't know if you ever talked to James Tynan about how they have since retconned Golden Age Alan Scott. And I'm like, okay, now this is interesting because now 1940s Alan Scott not only had to worry about his secret identity, but also the third issue being a gay man in a very closeted society and how that can, and truly, I think James and Tim Sheridan have run with the ball and really made things interesting. So,
cool. Well,
that ever rubbed you the wrong way when we talked about
you didn't rub me the wrong way at all. I was fine. But the reason I did it back then was that a gay fan at a convention or somewhere told me that the thing that broke his heart was how much of an icon for them Obsidian was, and with the New 52, there was with a young Alan Scott, there was no Obsidian.
I'm hip, yeah,
and that's why. Well, why can't Alan Scott be the gay icon? So and luckily I got no pushback from Dan on that one. It was fine, and now he's So I'll pat myself on the back for that. It's nice. It's nice that he's still like this big leader, and he just happens to be a gay guy.
Well, and truly, back to the Golden Age. And James, I'm sorry I'm keeping you longer than you intended, and I apologize.
I think my wife is getting a bit irked, but that's fine.
All right, fair enough. All right, we will wrap up with a couple of comments from the people, but I do want to say, in the Golden Age, really making Alan the big guy, as Johnny Quick refers to him and everything. It's still such a great story. And again, I have evolved. My thinking has evolved with the evolution of Golden Age Alan Scott. And truly, like I said, James and Tim, I have told them many times how much I appreciate where Alan Scott is now, and I do think it's interesting. So here, let's couple comments. Justin says your Invaders run was good. I think you could have done such a good Namor run if given the chance. I love seeing Namor pop up in the Nick Fury story that you did. So I thought, that was cool.
Who was that? Asked the question. Sorry,
that was Justin who made that comment.
Oh, Justin, yeah, I loved it. I had so many plans for the Invaders, and it got cancelled. But like, I was gonna do, the Kill Raven stuff. I had the Martians, the Martian Invaders. That was all gonna happen. I got to work with Peter Russell on that one issue. I was also gonna do, like a civil war between Namor's Atlantis and another city in the Pacific, which I guess would be kind of like that weird Namor character they've done in the film, which to me is whatever.
I'm hip. Yeah, I agree.
Also, I hate to be like, I don't know, visually, but he's not. I mean, he's just a flabby dude. He looks like he works in a. He works in a Best Buy. He doesn't look like Namor. They're driving me nuts.
The Prince of Atlantis. Absolutely, man. No, I hear you, man. You know, I met the actor that played Atuma. I hadn't seen Wakanda Forever, and we were at a convention, and he's like, oh, I'm in Wakanda Forever, and I'm looking at him because the gentleman clearly was of island descent, and I said, are you Namor? And he's like, no, I'm Atuma. I'm like, oh, that's great, man. I'm like, well, good casting for Atuma. So that's cool. So that's interesting. Mario says, I think if Earth 2 would have come out without the New 52 bullshit, it would have been awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mario.
Indeed.
I'm not much to that, except thank you. But yeah, I appreciate the comment.
Let's go around the horn again for the new stuff and remind people that, first of all, they still got a week to back second or third issue, James, of Rogue Kingdom.
It's the second issue. Jeff is well into the third issue. So if this keeps going, the next one will come out even sooner. So, and it's a fantastic story. I promise you'll like this thing. The art's amazing.
And again, you can, as I will, you can catch up on issues 1 and 2.
Yeah, we have some, and if we run out, we'll get more printed. So do not worry. If you want to, there is a tier where you can get issue 2 and issue 1 together, so you can jump on board now.
Patra, your young monster hunter that is in a slasher world.
A young monster hunter. She doesn't even want to be, but whenever one is near her, that mask comes on her, and she gets that knife. And the mystery of who she is, why this is happening, there's a lot more to it. It's an onion that keeps peeling. So yeah, that's available to trade.
And welcome to the Maynard. A lot of fun, beautiful magic in a hotel.
Just came out, the trade last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's like a secret hotel with intrigue and magic, and it has fun. It's like Tintin. It has fun, but there's still danger and there's still mystery.
Excellent. And my favorite, Monstros, is just wonderful. A noir story in a monster world, and there's your protagonist, the Wolfman. But really, it's you've blended all the great classic monsters in a very noir setting, and I love it. It's outstanding. And Luminen, I'm excited for coming up.
Yes,
in the fall.
Yes, it's about 2 months away. Yes.
So yeah, the granddaughter of Captain Nemo discovering her destiny.
Her destiny and encountering all these incredible characters. I was digging around and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many. This is such a wonderful mine of things we can use. And also, quite honestly, there are things that I didn't realize are already in public domain. So you'll be seeing all sorts of characters in there.
Is there and it sounds like you said that you've said all you wanted to say about superheroes, given that several of them are about to enter, well, not about to, but within a decade, and you're still a young man, relatively speaking. I say that as someone older than you.
Thank you for that.
Any interest in doing your own public domain Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman as these pop up in public domain?
No. In a word.
Okay.
I will say I've been trying to. I have this really good idea, and I've been trying to get Greg Hinkle. He's kind of busy being a father. I did Airboy with Greg Hinkle, which is probably the hardest, no pun intended, hardcorest thing I've done. I have an idea for like a one shot, a Mickey Mouse one shot, and I really, really, really want to do that in the public domain version without the gloves. And
Steamboat Willie, sure.
That was so clean and beautiful, and it's not, I'm not. I love Eric Larson, but it's not like foul mouthed Mickey running around being foul. It's like a kid's story that you could actually read to a 5-year-old.
Beautiful.
So I hope to do that at some point if I can get Greg to, have the time.
James, you mentioned your Airboy, and I know that was controversial. I enjoyed it and appreciated it for what it was. And James, you've always had this wonderful take on American heroes, and I find your point of view fascinating. And again, that even bleeds into the pulp stuff that you're touching. And Monstros is a great example, and I'm really excited for Luminem as well.
Thank you very much. All the people that I'm not sure how many people listen in and everything else, but the people commenting, I genuinely appreciate your interest and support. I really do. So. And if any of you come to see me at conventions, please just remind me that you commented and you saw this. I really do appreciate it.
Do you have shows coming up before the end of the year?
Yes, I have. I'm going to a show in Memphis with Scott Collins will be there and Jeff Johnson.
Oh, beautiful!
In mid to late September. Oh, I have it written down here actually. The 12th to the 15th. No, that's the Friday. So the 10th and 11th of September I'll be in Memphis, and then what's it called? The Baltimore Comic Con. I'll be at Baltimore as well in October. And I'll also be in Granada in Spain the following week. I can't believe it. I haven't done conventions for years. I find them really tiring, and I always get sick. But this year I've got to promote these books, so I'll be in Granada in Spain with Jesus as well in the following week. So there's a bit of that, and then next year I'll be doing a lot more conventions.
Excellent, man. All right, so everybody, you've only got about a week left for Rogue's Kingdom for the Kickstarter that James and Jeff Johnson have got going on now. So jump on that.
The link there is at the very bottom of that image.
Excuse me, here we'll put it back up. It's inkedstudios.live/rogues for my audio audience.
Thank you very much. All right, John.
James,
well,
come back, man.
Yeah, I would love to. I always enjoy talking, and then I forget that I should be careful what I say, and there's probably something I've said that will piss somebody off, but whatever.
Well, in the future, if you want to record rather than be live, I always offer that courtesy.
No, let's. I mean, I appeared looking like I've been fighting Jake LaMotta, so let's keep the live stuff, shall we? All right.
To quote Nicholas Colasanto, he ain't pretty no more. So no, you'll get the looks back, James. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right, man. Is this it? Yeah.
This is it. Thank you, James.
Right.
Great seeing you. Here, I'll even take you out. You can sign off. James Robinson, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and it's been a great week here at War Balloon Live. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.